and welcome to the Fashion Feed podcast. This is episode 25 and I'm your host Elizabeth Stiles. I'm a fashion brand consultant and have worked in the industry for over 12 years, which I'm sure all of you know by now. But if you want to find out a little bit more about what I do, I am at Elizabeth Stiles UK on Instagram, and I spend rather a lot of time in there at the moment. So please feel free to slide into my DMs if you've got any questions about fashion, the industry, your brand, where you're at, where you want to take it, anything related to do with fashion. I'm your woman. So enough about me. This week's episode is with Natalie Yaff, and she is the entrepreneur who created The Box London. It's a multifaceted sample sales space located in the heart of Hackney and is designed to accommodate and support a range of retail events, from its signature sample sales to pop-ups and product launches. Natalie came up with the concept having been an avid sample sales shopper herself, and the idea was born out of a frustration that sample sales weren't enjoyable experiences. Who remembers that episode with Friends and the whistle? Natalie saw a gap in the market for a premium space to shop the best brands at affordable prices whilst feeling like a full price boutique. And with a fashion and retail background, having previously worked at Mr. Porter, as well as the in-house sample sales from the team at Net-a-Porter Group, Natalie started planning a space that would combine a carefully curated edit of product from only the best brands. The Box are not only providing a more comfortable experience for the sample sales shopper, but also striving to offer an alternative to fast fashion. The aim is to give people the opportunity to buy from designers who produce the highest quality, most comfortable pieces that will last, and all at a similar price point to fast fashion brands on the high street. It's a responsibility to the planet, whilst also giving those who don't want or can't pay the designer prices the opportunity to buy into premium product. Hello, how are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you?
Good, yeah, I'm excited to have you on. We obviously got introduced by your PR lady, Susanna, at Sunday's Child, which is very exciting. And I had actually met Susanna before in a previous life, so it was quite nice for it to all come back in a circle and for us to record this. So yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Natalie and I run The Box, which is a sample sale company. We have one shop in Hackney. That's our main store. We actually had a pop-up last year in Covent Garden, and we're looking to expand more and more over the next couple months, because we found that people have really started to become avid sample sale shoppers, and it's great to see because people are coming week in and week out, and they're super eager to be first in line, and they've changed the way that they shop, which is really nice because that's what we're trying to do as a business.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really exciting time for us, and it's been 3 years now, and we are just growing and just trying to sort of navigate our way through the industry, which is changing all the time.
Yeah,
but it's
exciting
sometimes. Yeah, exactly.
And so how did it all come about? Like, let's rewind through history a little bit. And so how did you get your foot in the door into the fashion industry?
So I loved fashion growing up, was always really eager to get into the industry. Wasn't sure how I was going to do that. Did a bunch of internships wherever I could, and then when I finished uni, I went into a role at My Wardrobe, who are sadly no longer around, but I went in on their buying team in a very junior role, and I learned loads from that experience, but I was there when they actually closed the business.
Okay.
And from there I went to Mr. Porter, and I was working there for a couple of years. I mean, the Net-a-Porter Group is amazing for teaching you everything you need to know about the industry. There's so many different teams that you're exposed to when you work there, and it was a generally just amazing experience. But I left and decided to set up my own business because I had worked on the team that actually did their in-house sample sales, which no longer happen, but they were the biggest event in the sort of industry calendar for anyone working in London, and it was a super exciting thing that we did annually, and I learned loads from it, and I had an idea to do that full time. I felt that there was a real need for those events to happen more, and no one in the industry pays full price for what they wear. You see people in head-to-toe designer brands, but they've not gone into their flagships and bought those items. That they're using their staff discounts, whatever they can. So a lot of the time they're actually buying from sample sales too, and it's something which I guess people don't really talk so much about, but that is the culture of how people in the industry shop. And I just think that there's such an opportunity for the average person to be aware of these things and also buy amazing brands that they didn't think they could buy otherwise. And as a sample sale customer myself, I just felt that there was a need for a nicer venue, more premium environment. I had been going to these sales in various parts of London for a couple of years, and I'd wear gym clothes. There would be nowhere to try things on, and it was so frantic and just not enjoyable. And I'd still spend quite a bit of money, but I'd walk away thinking I should feel nicer about the fact that I just spent that money and I've bought this amazing piece which is really valuable. So I decided to set up the box with the main sort of ethos in mind that it should be a really premium, special environment for people from all industries, anyone, to just come in and have access to these incredible brands at really good prices. So we do a further discount than you'd expect in a normal shop, and it's really amazing. I mean, the bargains that you can find are great, and people really appreciate it. So yeah, it's been really nice to offer that to everyone.
Yeah, going back to like the frantic erraticness of people, I remember when I worked at Arcadia, they used to, like, there was sort of 5 or 6 floors there, and the sample sales would be from everyone, and they would do it in the cafe, and everything was just on the floor. Like, it was pound for everything. And I remember somebody actually elbowing somebody in the face. But because you're from all different companies, I was like, that could be a director for all you know. It was crazy what the way people behave. Like, how do you stop people from like getting that excited, or like what kind of things do you put in place to make it a nice experience?
So we put a lot of care into this. When we sort of set up a sale, we have all of this in mind. We space everything out. We don't leave things on the floor. Nothing is able to be picked up from the floor. If it is, it's fallen off a rail by mistake. No, everything's displayed like you would expect it to be in a full price shop. So we believe that if you present things in that kind of way, I don't know, the psychology of it plays in. So if you walk into a really nice space, you don't want to trash it. Like you would if you exactly. So we display things really nicely. We have changing rooms. We've got plenty of staff on hand to help with anything that you need. So they can go and look for the item in another size for you, or they can just help you with your belongings. And we've got shopping bags that you can put your items into and walk around the shop. So our whole sort of mentality is we want to make it as easy for the customer as possible, and we don't want them to feel like they need to be elbowing people out the way. I know we always get flashbacks from that episode of Friends where Monica's buying that wedding dress with a whistle. None of that needs to happen at our sales. It's definitely a misconception. I think a lot of people who come to our sales for the first time, they go, wow, I can't believe how calm it is and nice it is, and we could still have hundreds of people in one day, but they've imagined it to be so much worse than it actually is in reality. So I don't people shouldn't be scared to come to the sales.
Yeah, and so
They're very nice and normal.
yeah, very calm. How do you tell people about them? So obviously with the industry ones, it's all very hush hush. And we were talking before about this podcast, how everyone should have access to the fashion industry. And I think that's what we kind of bond over for sure. Like,
Yeah.
how do you get your word out to like the general public?
So we've built up a really healthy size mailing list, and we send out evites for the sales to our mailing list. And we also have a social media following that's really engaged and growing, and people tag their friends and forward things. I mean, it's great with Instagram now with insights. We can see everything that's going on. So we can see exactly how many shares there have been, how people interact, and they DM us all the time with questions. So social media has been incredible. For the last 3 years that we've been doing this, I just think social media has grown so much in those 3 years in itself. So I just think there's so many more users now who wouldn't have previously even been on Instagram, and now people of all ages are on there, and the conversations around sample sales are taking place primarily there, and I guess through mailing lists as well. We don't really do much advertising outside of Instagram. We're a really small business, and we've kind of just grown organically. So our marketing approach has been really organic as well, but it's working well for us. And we get hundreds, if not thousands of people attending our sales each week, which is really wonderful.
Yeah. And so what, like you obviously saw a lot of the excitement in Net-a-Porter around the sample sales. How, I know also alongside that, there was the Burberry burning their stock not too long ago. How much that, like, what was the timeline and the crossover around that?
So Burberry's the insider kind of knowledge about what's been going on behind the scenes didn't actually come out till that long ago. I think it was about a year ago when those figures were released, and we were already up and running. I mean, it's no secret that this has been a problem in the industry for decades, where brands have had so much leftover stock at the end of a season. They don't have space on their shop floors to sell it because they've got the new season merchandise. They don't have the space on their website because they've got to focus on the new season merchandise. So they've been burning stock, and it is really terrible. So we really try to show brands that we can be a solution for this issue, which is affecting so many more brands than people realize. And there's just so much waste that's going around that would end up in a landfill, and we just want to basically extend the shelf life of those products and give them a home, because there are plenty of people who would want to buy that stock. And our customers really do appreciate the fact that they can get their hands on it if they come to our sales. So it's a no-brainer for us, really. It's such a sustainable way of helping the industry with this issue and preventing the habits of the past from continuing, especially now that we know how damaging it is for the planet. We've got the figures. I mean, the numbers are really scary. You know, I read a fact that WRAP, the waste charity, calculated that if clothes can stay in active use for just 6 to 9 months longer, it reduces carbon and waste footprints by 20 to 30%, which is massive.
Wow. Yeah.
So, you know, when you read these figures and you know that there's something that you can do to help it, it just encourages us even more. So we're super busy doing sales week in and week out at this point, just helping brands, you know, clear their stock in a really responsible way. It's just basically going to a new home. It's going to a new customer who may not be their full price customer, but they one day could be. So if anything, they're just expanding their customer reach and acquiring new customers along the way, and preventing the damage that they probably felt they didn't have a choice to do up until now.
It's almost like you feel, not like you feel sorry for Burberry, but they're just the ones that got called out. Like everyone was doing it, but their name is the one that's attached to it, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's unfair because they really aren't the only ones. There's so many luxury brands who have been doing that for years, and it's just gone unnoticed.
Yeah.
But yeah, now with social media, it's harder to hide these things, and obviously the conversations around sustainability have expanded so much, and so many people are really interested by it now and are trying to do what they can to help and to not tap into fast fashion as much as they were before. I mean, I was, as most people were, a fast fashion consumer when I was younger. I can't pretend like I wasn't. I was at university and I didn't have any income, so my limited budget for clothing was obviously going to be spent on the cheaper items that were available to me, which generally was from fast fashion companies. But then as I started working in the industry and became more aware of sample sales, I guess I just realized actually I'm not really spending that much more money on these sales. If anything, often the prices are the same.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
and you buy
£50.
Because
Yeah, it's £50 here or there, whatever it is. It's not different at all to the high street.
Yeah.
And you end up buying less because you're buying these really amazing pieces that you're really happy to keep on wearing, rather than just wear once and never wear again, throw away, whatever.
Yeah, and like
that
you
doesn't
say,
apply.
You're creating a nicer environment, so when you are spending the money, you feel like you've spent that money in the same way you would in a beautiful shop, you would in your shop as well.
Exactly. I mean, it should be special if you're buying one of these brands who are luxury brands, and everything about their shops are luxury. Therefore, wherever the item is sold, I just believe it should reflect that, and the customer should walk away still feeling like they're buying something really special, rather than making it into, I don't know, like a second class version of what it is.
Yeah. And what kind of brands do you stock, or like which brands do people just go mental for, or does it change all the time?
So it changes all the time, but we've got to a point where we've now been running for 3 years. So a lot of the brands that we work with now work with us biannually because it works for them. This now is their way of clearing their leftover stock at the end of the season, which is really great. So we have a calendar that basically runs for the first 6 months of the year, and then again for the second half of the year, and we slot in new brands here and there, but a lot of them are regular clients of ours now. So it can be anyone from Sunspell to Joseph to House of Hackney. We've got so many different brands now. I think we're working with about 50 or 60 each year, which is great. Sometimes they're shared. If the brand doesn't have enough stock to fill the whole space, they'll share it with a relevant brand. So we curate these sales where we partner the brands up together depending on how much stock they have and who their customer is. And that works really well. And it's really nice for the customer as well, because let's say they've come in specifically for a brand and they actually didn't find anything. They're then exposed to other products, which they may end up loving. And we've introduced these brands to lots of people. We've had loads of customers say, I'd never actually heard of the brand before. I've never bought anything from them before. This has given me the opportunity to come in and see their stock in the flesh. And it's so nice and it's amazing quality. And yeah, they're convinced now. From now on, they'll hopefully be a customer for that brand. And it's really great to see.
Yeah. And going back to like the first few days or the first few months, weeks of launching, like what kind of teething problems did you face?
It was quite where we, as all businesses have, there were definitely teething problems. We were a tiny team, we still are. So just managing hundreds of people coming into your shop is really overwhelming at times when you don't have an army of staff. And I've learned so much along the way because I've been managing all aspects of the business, and I actually still to this day only currently have one full-time staff member. It is changing soon. We are expanding the team, but we've been tiny as a team. I can't stress that enough. So we've had plenty of teething problems, but we've learned so much along the way. And I think getting brands to commit to doing a sale with a new business that was hard in itself, just kind of the hurdle of putting your name out there and having them believe in you, that you can actually deliver a successful event for them and successfully sell on their stock in a way that also protects their brand and their brand equity and their image. So there was a lot of that. There have been loads of discussions around how to market the events that are that would be in line with what the brand needs, and we've worked really closely with them to make sure that every event has gone well. We really haven't had events go badly. I'm really lucky. It's really lucky that I can say that. We've worked really hard to make sure that all possible issues have been resolved, and we've had a really good response to the sales that we've done. We also don't just work with anyone. We're really selective about who we work with. We know that our customers believe that they should come to the sales because they will find something that they love. And we don't want people to come to a sale and go, oh, well, that was rubbish, not interested in that brand, waste of my time. Especially being in East London, we have people coming to our sales from all over London, and London's a big place. So for people to travel from south or north or wherever they are to come to East London, you want to make it worth their while. So we only partner with brands that we know our customers are actually going to like. We say to the brands, if they're not relevant, there's no point in doing it. It's a waste of their time. It's a waste of our time. So yeah, we've got I think quite good confidence that we can always deliver the right brands to our customers, and it goes two ways. I think that they have confidence in us, that we know what we're doing as well, and that they'll come in to our shop and most likely find something that they really like and actually want to buy.
Yeah. And so how would you describe like a typical event? Are they in the morning? Are they in the evening? At the weekends? Like, do people queue outside?
Yeah, so we run ourselves over long weekends usually. We're in Hackney, which is quite a residential area, so we find that a lot of people who actually work in the West End or the city live in East London, so it's easier for them to attend the sale if it's over a weekend. And we start them on a Friday usually. Sometimes they start on a Thursday, it depends how long the sale is lasting, and they'll finish on the Sunday. So it's quite spread out. It's not like a one-day sale where people have to queue from the crack of dawn. We spread it out so you can kind of just come whenever suits you. Yes, there are queues, especially on the first day. Sometimes it's not too bad. Sometimes you could be in a queue for, I don't know, 25 minutes. But there are some sales which definitely pull in the crowds, and the queues can be pretty long. House of Hackneys in particular is quite famous for that. They actually it's just a 2-day sale with them. They do Saturday and a Sunday, and people queue from 7:38 in the morning on a Saturday, rain or shine. They're dedicated to get that piece of fabric.
Yeah.
But it really does vary. What's really great though with social media is we've got this really engaged audience, and we post loads from the event. So if we've got a really long queue, we'll show you the queue. We'll let you know how long the wait time is. We're always trying to get people inside super fast. We obviously have a venue capacity, so we're trying to also just get through transactions as quickly as possible, and there's plenty of people on hand to help with that. But yeah, there is often a queue. It's just part of it. It's part of the whole sample sale experience.
Like a bit of excitement. Like there is like obviously we don't want to be elbowed in the face, but we do kind of want a tiny bit of buzz as well around shopping. And I'm like super really passionate about retail in general, and I think it's nice to try it in lots of different formats and keep it fresh and keep it exciting. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily always a bad thing to have a bit of a buzz.
Exactly.
And what would you say is your advice for people who want to come and like grab a bargain? Like some of my friends are so good at like vintage shopping, say, and I'm like, how do you find these things? Like, do you have to go with a bit of a plan, or is it better to go with an open mind?
So I would say if you know the brand well, then you kind of know what you're going for. If you're a regular customer of theirs anyway, and you've bought a pair of jeans, for instance, you know how their sizing works, and you should be fine. We have changing rooms anyway, so you can always try items on. But if you've never really shopped from the brand before, because either you've never heard of them or it's just been out your price range, and you come to the sale and you think, right, this is my opportunity to get my hands on this, then I would do as much sort of research as possible before, like look on their website, look at their sizing charts, things like that. Look at the sort of size and fit details on the website, because it often says what size the model is and then tells you what size they're wearing. But more importantly, we do a sneak peek of our sales before they open. So on our Instagram stories, we'll post like a preview of what you can expect to find in stores. So all the different categories you can expect from the brands and the prices for those items. So you can come in with a game plan. You can say to yourself, right, I love that dress. I'm coming in for that dress. That's where I'm heading first. That way, if you're in the sale and there's 50 other people in there and you're a bit like freaked out because there's a lot going on, you can aim for the item you've seen on our story. You can have a bit of a game plan, and we're constantly posting. So throughout the day, even we can show you what there is. We have tons of people DM us about particular items they may have seen on a story 2 days prior, and they're only able to come on the third day, and they say, do you have this in my size or whatever, and we are able to check for them. And yeah, I just can't encourage that enough, that the best thing to do is to follow us on Instagram so that you can see what there is before you make the trip to the sale.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like customer service is like really important part of your business.
Definitely. I mean, we're not an online business, we're a bricks and mortar business, so we have all of that customer interaction in store, and we really do put loads of effort into making sure that people walk away happy and that people find the experience as easy as possible. We really don't want it to become that frenzied atmosphere that people may think it can be. So we work really hard to make sure that we are a venue that doesn't have that. There are other venues which might not put as much care into that as we do, so we're really proud to focus on that as a big part of our business.
Yeah, and it's good to have like a nice thing as your USP, you know. I want to be really nice to people. And so as you're not online and we live in a very like digital world, what are your plans for the future?
It's a great question. We're constantly asking ourselves that. It's slightly complicated to just go online. I came from an e-commerce background, being at Mr. Porter, and it is super difficult logistically to organize everything, and it takes a lot of investment and a lot more manpower to do that. That being said, there are always new and exciting ways that you can sell to people who can't physically attend your sales, and we are looking into those ways all the time. Nothing's been determined as of yet because we've not really had a chance to focus on it, in all honesty. We're so busy with our day-to-day, but it's definitely something on our radar that we're thinking about. We get asked a lot by customers if there's a way for them to buy things without actually coming to the sale, because we have people who have discovered our Instagram, I don't know how, but they don't live in the UK. They live in France or America. We even had someone the other week ask me from Singapore. So we definitely know that there are people out there who would want to buy these products and might not be able to. So we're just, I don't know, watch this space. We're working on it.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. Yeah. And I guess lastly, what would be your advice to somebody who wanted to get into the fashion industry, or I know we were talking before about maybe they don't necessarily have the encouragement from anybody around them to, like, one of my things is that even in 2020, as we're recording this, I still feel like fashion isn't necessarily taken as like seriously as some other businesses. And I went to an event the other day, and this woman had got some investment, And she said, oh, I'm in there with a load of tech companies and they always take the piss out of me and it's fine. And I was like, that is not fine. Like, you're in the same room as these people, and like, why should fashion be sort of the jokey thing? You know, you've made a good career out of it, so have I. We know lots of people who have. So yeah, some advice for people who might want to break into the fashion industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad to hear that because fashion is such a great industry. I didn't study anything fashion related. I actually went to university and studied history,
Oh wow.
but I, yeah, but I was just passionate about that alongside fashion, but I didn't necessarily think, oh, well, if I'm not studying a fashion related degree, I'm not going to go into it after. Nothing really changed my mind. I did the degree and I really loved studying it, but I straight away was looking for fashion jobs after.
Yeah.
You don't have to study anything fashion related really to get into it. I think the most important thing is to work really hard. If you show that you've got an interest in it and you have a really great work ethic, someone will give you a chance. I think that people really need to believe in that, because as an employer, if I'm meeting people for future roles, the main thing for me is their work ethic.
Yeah.
Because it's such a fast-paced industry. There is so much work that goes into everything. All you need is someone who's hands-on and dedicated, and you know that you can then put your faith in them. And I think that if you have those qualities, you'll get really far in this business, and someone will take a chance on you, and then you can learn about the industry and figure out where you kind of fit into it, because there are so many different aspects to it as well. It's such a growing industry, and I really would encourage anyone with an interest in fashion to go for it. I will also say it's a really small industry.
Yeah.
People don't really realize that you'll come across the same people in so many different phases of your career, whether you've moved from one company to another. And it's really important because of that to just be really nice and
Yeah.
to just have
I feel like doing the
a
air
really,
punch at this time.
yeah, to just be really nice, because you will come across that person again. I can't stress that enough.
Well,
And everyone works together, and it's so worthwhile to have that attitude, because you just never know who you're next going to be working with.
yeah, it's crazy. I always tell this story where one of my friends, her car broke down on the way to an interview, and when she got there, the woman was like, no, you should have been here on time, blah blah blah. Fine, didn't get the job, obviously. And then about 2 years later, my friend interviewed that woman.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm talking about. You just
Yeah,
never know.
you never know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, even if there's some. And another story was when I did work experience at ASOS, the woman that worked on reception, like years and years later, became like head buyer or something. And
There you go.
just be nice
That's what
to
I'm saying.
everybody, and I mean
Be nice to
everybody.
everyone. And I bet you that receptionist was really hardworking, and that is why they gave her the chance. Honestly, that is all that matters, because yeah, it's so fast paced. You've just got to have a busy team who are happy to get their hands stuck in, and that is what everyone wants.
Yeah, fantastic advice. I love it. And where can people find you? Like, if they want to get in touch or?
So we are www.thebox-london.com.
Yeah.
That is our website. That is where you can find all information about us, about our upcoming events, the opening times, and you can even see photos of the space and previous sales, just to get an idea of everything. And there's map information on there and our address for our store in Hackney. If we are hopefully doing more pop-ups, which we plan to do, then that is also a great place to check. But more importantly, our social media is a really great thing to follow us on, because we will constantly be showing you any developments in the business. If you want to find out about our upcoming sales, everything's posted there too. There's live updates, like I said, about what we've got in store. So both the Instagram, which is at thebox_London, and our website are the best places to find out.
Amazing. Thank you. Sorry, just while you were talking, my cat jumped onto my desk. So if you heard a bang,
That's okay.
it's his fat stomach. But yeah, thank you for sharing. And yeah, I'm sure I'll be along to one of your events. You've totally sold it to me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have 1 minute spare, it would mean the world to me if you could head over to Apple Podcasts to leave a short review so that more people can discover the podcast and listen to interviews with inspiring guests in the fashion industry. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you join me for the next episode.